Hello everyone and welcome to Tradesea. This video is going to be a bit different because I'm going to be taking you through my exact workflow as a profitable day trader. I'm going to be using the Tradesea platform to actually show you what happens before I take a trade, what I do during my trade, and then also how I'd analyze my trade afterwards to ensure that I'm improving day on day. So first thing that I'd do coming into a new day is I'd analyze the news calendar. So what I'm going to do is come down to the Discover page, and you can see here we've split it into two different sections. On the left we have the trending news, and on the right is the upcoming economic events. So what I do is probably filter by high impact trending news and just read through all of these things just to get a general summary of the market sentiment for that day. Then what I'm going to do next is actually filter by medium and high impact news to see all of the events that are going to be causing spikes in volatility throughout the trading session. You can see here on March 2nd, we actually have PMI, which typically affects the market quite a lot. So what I'm going to do is come back onto the trading panel and mark out PMI, just so I know exactly when it's coming out and how I shouldn't be taking a trade before it. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is actually identify my draw on liquidity. So what do I mean by draw on liquidity? It's basically where I think the market is going to head for that day. So in general, we've been very, very bearish because of certain news that's come out, but I've seen we've created this large new week opening gap that hasn't been filled yet. So my main draw on liquidity, whilst it is a bearish narrative, I do think at some point we're going to come back up to this gap to fill in price. Okay, so this is actually the next day. I'm going to show you what trade I took and where the market went after predicting it yesterday. So on market open, we actually ended up pumping up straight away, and this was to target that new week opening gap that I've been talking about. You can see we'd partially filled it, but now we've fully closed the gap. So upon market open, what did I say yesterday? I wanted to wait until news came out, and news was actually at 3 o'clock UK time, so that was around here. And I wanted to actually target the fill of that gap. So what I did is I waited, market open, saw us pump up, and then at 3 o'clock I watched news come out. So you can see here, the news candle, we actually dumped a little bit. And then as soon as I saw this news candle print, what I actually ended up seeing was a sweep of liquidity here. And then we ended up inversing this gap, and I took a long to target the fill of that new week opening gap. I put my stop around here, and I was targeting a 1-to-1. So this was my trade, and you can see if we go to Compass that I made $1,000 on Monday the 2nd, which was yesterday. If we click into here, I can see all of the additional stats at the top. And also we can see on this interactive chart my exact trade executions. So to journal this trade, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually view this chart from lots of different time frames. So on the right, you can see I've made some notes. I firstly started on the 4 hour. So I went to the 4 hour and I've just written down what exactly I saw. So I saw some major liquidity get swept. I saw a bit of a reversal, and then obviously we had the gap above. So I've just written 4 hour bullish. Then I dropped down to the 1 hour and I wrote down what I saw. So we actually ended up tapping into this large gap, expanding off it. Again, I've written bullish. Then what I want you to do is just fill this out for all of the sort of slightly smaller time frames, like the 15-minute, the 5-minute, and just write some of your thoughts. Okay, and then the last time frame you can go for is probably the 1 minute. That makes the most sense. So you can see here, I've analyzed the 1 minute on my trade to see my actual executions. If we scroll back, you can see here that usually I enter off the inverse of a candle. So we inverse the gap here on this candle, but I didn't end up entering until a few candles later. So that is basically a late entry. So on the 1 minute, I've written late entry. Next time I should be more aware and ready to trade. And then I've gone ahead and said it took profits too early, made sense for us to fill the entirety of the news gap. So here you can see I've closed out around this candle here, but I believe the news gap was up to here. So that means I could have gained an extra few points just by holding it, and I've basically taken profits too early, so I'm going to write that down in my journal. Then the next thing I've done is I've actually come over to Polaris AI and asked it to analyze my trade. So here you can see it's given us a core takeaway. It said a full breakdown of what I've taken for that day, and also a bit of advice from our coach. So what I've done is I've taken this advice, I've copied it, and then I've come back into that journal and I've pasted it in the journal, because then we've analysed our trade from the human perspective and also from the AI perspective. Then the last thing I've added is the compass score. So I always want to be writing down the compass score simply because that is the main measure of all of these different metrics. If you're just paying attention to your net P&L, then that's not really going to give you all the information that you need. So what I've done is I've written this down and just paid a bit of attention to what metrics might be getting better or might be getting worse. Then the final thing I actually like to do is come back into that trade execution and then click on the tags area. So this is going to allow me to actually keep track of all of my different strategies. So here you can see I've tagged this trade with an ICT tag because I use the ICT strategy. And then when I come back into Compass and click on tags, I can see all of my different strategies that I've used. So you can see breakout isn't going too well, but ICT is going slightly better. So you have to make sure that you're tagging all of your trades so you can pay attention to what is working best for you. And also remember to tag your instrument that you've used. So at the moment, I've only traded on NQ, but if this was a gold trade, then I'd want to tag that with gold, and then it's going to allow me to compare all of my different instruments to all of my different strategies. So that's just been a quick rundown of how I'd analyze the market and then how I'd analyze and journal my trade after as a profitable day trader. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any questions about a strategy or about journaling, drop them below and I'll get back to you. Thank you very much.